Without any ado, hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Chrissy Sawyer here with my very special friend, Mike DePung, and we have no agenda. We have no idea why we're here, but we'll figure it out as we go along. So welcome. Mike, how are you?
I'm great, and it sounds like you are doing very well.
Yeah, busy
Um,
with all these changes.
in the email setting this up, you mentioned that you were looking forward to dancing in the void, and I would just like to welcome anybody who happens by to join in the dance, to welcome to the dance, and I think that would be appropriate.
I love that. Yeah, welcome to the void, and welcome indeed the void and all that comes with it. I want to welcome in the ancestors because they are coming in so strongly. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, there's so much love coming in now. Um, they are coming in so strongly at the moment, and they're coming in with messages of thanks to every soul on the planet that's doing the work at the moment. There seems to be like this real held space with the ancestors, of acknowledgement and recognition of the changes that are happening because of how deep we're plunging into that soul journey. Yeah, I don't know what your experience.
Yeah, what do you sense? Like I mentioned earlier that I did not get to watch all of your video from yesterday. Um, do you sense there is a significant movement in the collective in terms of upset that comes from people what realizing that something is not right in their own hearts and their own souls?
Yeah, there's the shift is looking like um, a significant revealing of blind spots. And in the blind spot is a deeper level of the people pleaser, is a deeper level of where we've taken responsibility for a story that doesn't belong to us. So this is where the ancestors are coming in. So that's looking like suddenly realizing, are people literally suddenly realizing that this person that they held close to their heart has actually been gaslighting, and really not seeing it because it's been camouflaged by their need to please and fix and solve and mend. And this is the parentified child that's gone up to parent the parents, taken on massive responsibility at a very young age, aged too quickly. Um, and the invitation from the void, or from our deepest heart's calling, actually is to start putting these burdens down. And what's it going to look like when we really step into the return of joy and passion, which has been coming in strongly? The wild child, the wild self set free to roam. And great gifts come with sacrifice, and sacrifice is the old narratives, beliefs, values, limitations, fears, all of that stuff. So there is another significant shift happening now. We're in it.
Okay, that's again synchronicity. It just is so. So 2 days ago, let's say today's the 29th, 3 days ago, um, using the great mystical
Best deck.
that you put me on to, I just wanted to do, and I've been doing like a draw every day from myself as much as anything, with a question always of what is a good energy to focus on today? What is a good energy? What energy is going to help me to be me today? The best, something that would be very beneficial. So I've been drawing, and the other day, 3 days ago, 4 cards popped out.
Hmm.
Okay, so medicine wheel reading. you pulled, I think you had yesterday, medicine wheel was one of the, yes. And so I put, and I only mentioned this, I'm not going through the whole thing, but I only mentioned this because something that you said just a moment ago. The first two cards had to do with, um, had to do with getting rid of the old paradigms. It had to do with putting to death the old paradigm. One was the upper world. And what's interesting with that card, I know that you don't necessarily have all the cards memorized, but that owl that is there, and it looks as if the sun is on its back, and it's and there, and that's where the energy from me derives from, except for what's it got in its talons, the moon, and what's below the moon. It's like all the boughs and roots and branch of trees going down. So to function in the here, the down, the rooted, the 3D, where do I get that energy? Someplace that in the past I wouldn't allow myself to go, because there was a past story for me in the circles I traveled in. You're so heavenly minded, you're no earthly good.
Mm.
It, if I'm not heavenly minded, I'm no earthly good. I have to draw that energy from that upper world, and that's where it comes in. And it had to do, and the message to me was personal message, personal truth was, hey, these are the kinds of ideas that have to die. These ideas of the old paradigm of functioning and being what others expect, because that, something else you just mentioned a little bit ago, that definitely is a blockage. Is it hinders the ability to receive all these downloads of joy and passion and contentment that is available to us. We can never ever experience that fully if we don't release those kinds of ideas that we've got to be something for somebody else, that we've got to be something for our parents, and that, or whatever it might be. We can't experience what we came here to experience, which is to understand all of this, to engage in it, and to enjoy our own creation.
Wow. Yeah, it's, and when you spoke in there beneath the moon into the rootedness of what's got literally rooted into our DNA, and feeling the kind of the slippage and the slidage of that, and feeling the movement in that to become something else, and then into the potentiality of actually what on earth could I be if fully expressed in my light and my joy and my beauty and my wild child. It's the potentiality of that is electric. And then in come all these narratives of shoulda, woulda, coulda, push, drive, strive. It's all that old nonsense. And that is all really big. And there's so much help. I really want to keep coming back to this. And when I talk into this ancestral help, it's like my throat chakra goes from being round to being elliptical. It's like it stretches exponentially wider. There's such a voice wanting to come through. And it will be in us all, because I'm in the collective space at the moment of, the video I made yesterday was called The Untaming of the Shrew, which is,
I love that, yes.
oh, and it's in the whole client field. It's in my personal field. Of that thing I wish I'd said. It's basically that thing I wish I'd said, and it comes in like that, and it needs to be blurted until we can master and harness and temper that energy without killing its bullet, without.
I heard that yesterday, yes.
Yeah, without killing that, and in that discussion about Brittany, I think the piece I didn't speak into was, I said, they were all talking about the father and what a wicked man he was. And I said, why are we not talking about Brittany in this? Where's her voice? Where's her passion? Where's her rage? And where is that pointing? Where is her right to defend her own fertility? And nobody was speaking about Brittany. It's like she was absent in the system. You just got this overshadowing masculine controlling the fertility of a woman under some strange covenant agreement. But what about if we lift her up and then feel what happens to that energy? Well, that then becomes very challenging. She's a strong woman. She's a strong woman and a successful woman. So yeah, she'll be feeling that now. And look at the poignancy of the timing. Now she's going to sue him. And that's like, wow, that will contain thousands of unexpressed thoughts of unfairness, of injustice, of the commoditization of a daughter. Oh, some big hitters here. And Brittany, I bow to you because you're leading the field here. This is she's leading it. So yeah, you're
I
speaking.
certainly would love to be that conduit to send energy to her
Yeah.
to step into all that she has initiated, to fully step into it, because it is not it will not be an easy thing for her to do, with all those around her telling her, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to look this way, you have to watch out for what responses are. And it just is not going to be easy. But it's interesting that you brought up about Brittany, because I think she has an awesome voice, but I don't know if I could name one song she ever did. I don't know.
No.
But one of my former students is like enamored with her. And I mean, he's happily married and has, I mean, really a beautiful wife, and they have a lovely beginning of their lives. But he is a traveler. He just goes all the time on a weekend. I can't tell you, he's probably got at least a half a dozen pictures to where he went to Britney concerts and where he's backstage with her. I mean, I don't know how he did it. It's not like he's got money and was paying to get backstage and stuff. It's just like, and she's there and they talk and it's incredible. But he brought some of that. She's really interesting to me because he brought some of that Britney through to me that I would not necessarily have known before. So, because he's a student that I respected very much.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's interesting. But I do know, I mean, and he's made allusion to the whole thing about the control around her. Yeah. So I don't know how he got through, but there's a lot of control around her.
Yeah, there will be. And I just, as you were talking into that, I got the acronym PR representing overshadowing PC.
Mm.
Like, we've kind of, because social media has infiltrated so much of our life that we've kind of become our own PR machine. And it's like PR has superseded PC. And she's the epitome of that, of saying and doing and thinking the right thing and dressing the right way. And yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah,
That's part of what the energies that I've been receiving and that my team of unseens has made clear to me is that because when we first met through social media, LinkedIn type stuff and sharing back and forth there, I was very much into like, hey, I want to make sure that this is like heading, that I have a purpose and that it's heading towards a certain, not totally. I wasn't constructing an artificiality, but it's like, hey, if I want this to work, I need to keep up this appearance. And I don't care anymore. I mean, I post when I want to post. I do videos and most of the stuff. And as you know, like I don't have this wide outreach, this wide impact. But what I do know is that it means something, as I've been assured, to those who give me these energies, those who share those energies, those who help me to see the things that I see and know. And so I know it means a lot to them. So I do it for them. I love it when people stop by, when actual real human beings stop by and participate. But yeah, I wonder if Brittany feels like that sometimes when she actually gets to interact with a real human being in terms of authenticity and sincerity. Because I bet somebody like that doesn't get a lot of authenticity and sincerity.
I wouldn't imagine so.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
It's
imagine.
interesting.
Yeah, God bless her. God bless her. So I kind of I want to invite you just to tell the people that don't know you about who you are and your channel, so they can go to it.
Okay, well, my channel is just my name, Mike DePung, and I do the little title underneath. I always have it Spirit Health, Spirit Healing in or into love and light, because getting there is not always a bright, joyful thing. Sometimes you got to go through, as you've referred to many times, the do that deep work, the work that is dark, that sometimes is icky and ugly and feels really shitty, but you get there. So that's my channel, and it's and it's kind of a culmination, because so here I am. I'm advanced in age, let's say. Let's just put it that way, a little advanced in age. I've had a career, I've done a number of things over my life, but all of them have led. And even though in terms of like awakening to the reality of spirit incarnate, awakening to that reality in a full way, in a conscious way. All the stuff that I did was always like, it was my heart, listening to my heart. And I think the heart is that operating system that tunes its into that. So I was right there. So when I was young and first starting out in my adult life, I was a painter. My dad was a painter all of his life, house painter. I got really good at that. I enjoyed it. And I've always been like, whatever I do, if I can't do it passionately, I walk away.
Wow.
And that's not always been easy to do.
No.
And I have to believe in it. So after a few years of doing that, I listened to the wisdom of my dad, who said, "You're not going to do this all your life. You're crazy." So I went back to college, because I quit college to start working with him. So I did that, and I went to pharmacy school for a while, for a couple of years. And I decided real quickly, based on what I learned, I am not counting out all these things that I don't feel personally deeply invested in, these pills, these drugs that don't always do what a man came and spoke to the pharmaceutical marketing class I was in. He was the head of Washington University Medical School, which is one of the most prestigious schools in the nation. And he jokingly, tongue in cheek, but not totally, said, 95% of the patients we treat would get better without any intervention on our behalf. The other 5% would die anyway. So in other words, we don't do a lot of good. And he said, now I say that obviously urgent care, critical care, acute conditions needs to, but he expressed his anger at doctors who indiscriminately prescribed antibiotics, and it ruined and it created all these superbugs and this sort of thing.
Wow.
But anyway, my point is that I didn't feel, I no longer felt like, hey, I can do this. And I really got into then looking at natural herbs and remedies, and just well-being type treatments. And so I stopped there. Of course, my mother died then too, and that was a difficult thing for me. She was very young, and I was relatively young. And so I just I'm done with this phase. And so I got into other things, and I did antique restoration and conservation for a while, because I knew from my chemistry background there, and from my painting background, I knew how to mix stains and colors and varnishes and all this stuff. And so and just very briefly, 4 of the frames, picture frames that I restored for one of my primary clients in those days, in those years, hang in the St. Louis Art Museum right now.
Wow.
They were from the Renaissance era. And I restored those frames. And so I did that, but then it was like, okay, I have to be done with this, because I was in the process of getting my teaching, my English degree, and then my teaching degree. Yeah. And the man who I did the picture frames for actually was like, "You're going to do this because you can write." I had written a requiem for his wife when she died. And he asked if he could share it to everybody, if he could have it printed and share it to people. Wow. And so he's like, you're going to get this degree and I'm going to make sure of this. And he was a very obviously wealthy man. And so I got to that point, I did it. And then I engaged in my teaching career, which was incredible. But it came to a point where this is not where public education, I can't stand where this is going. You mentioned yesterday in your video about you were known as a, how did you put it? That you were difficult, a disruptor. What'd you say exactly? What was the word?
My label is difficult.
Difficult, yes. That was kind of my label
Really?
in education, because I knew what teaching and learning was all about. I saw through the bullshit of the educational system, of the testing, of the um, people trying to sell packages just to make money from education and not concerned with what is going on with this. Anyway, I just cut through all that, and I was my last 10 years, except for my last year, I was called to the principal's office every year because so anyway, that's kind of who I am. I don't know if that gives a picture, Chrissy, of where I am. And then I took obviously a very early retirement. I took an early retirement from the public education system. And that was when, though, these things were going on. That was when I was like, okay, all this stuff that I believed all these years about living my passion and about everything else will follow. Things that I had taught my students through the literature over the years I was in the classroom about, hey, forget about how much money you're going to make. Discover who you are and what you want to do, what you're passionate about. Pursue that and see what happens. And everything else will. And I don't know. I just had I loved my students. I loved being in the classroom with them. And I have very many who obviously, I don't say obviously, it's obvious to me, love me. I have a number of them that are friends now. They're not just former students and that we're in contact with, but we're invited to one of their weddings next month, next month. We're invited to one of their weddings. And that's happened a number of times. But at the beginning of this time, 10 years ago, is when these feathers started showing up to me. Like, what in the heck is going on? And I'll tell the story of that sometime, but I started looking just on Amazon, and that's when I got this little book. I hadn't planned on doing this. I just have this sitting next to me because I always have it there because it's like my primary reference book for a lot of things. And I started reading like some of the feathers that showed up from some of the birds, and I'm like, okay, there's something here.
Yeah.
And then there's other things that started coming in, and it was that point of where I, one evening, looked into the mirror and I saw the eyes behind the eyes. Yeah. I saw the essence. I saw that divinity that was there, that in a way gently chided me like, hey, quit questioning everything. Quit looking to other people and other things to tell you who you are, because this is who you are.
Yeah.
That's me for now. And so over the 10 years, and you've been a huge help to me, just the things that you mention and the things that you share, not directly to me, but that I always, along with others, and so then I do my own work, and wow, the spirits, how they showed up to me, surprising, shocking, frightening sometimes, and it's just been powerful, and it's all come together, and here we sit across the ocean from one another.
Yeah, I know, isn't it amazing? It's just amazing from a beginning on this, possibly, well, in my experience, the starchiest social media, business media website I've ever experienced, LinkedIn. Sorry, LinkedIn, but you are flatlining. There is not an ounce of joy and passion on that channel. And it just, what I like about LinkedIn is it kind of brings out my defiant side, and I post some of my more weird stuff on LinkedIn just to mess the system up, just to see how not seen I am. It's just like, wow. But yeah, I'm just guided actually to go to one of my, I'm just going to start shuffling because there's some chatter going on in the background. what I love about that story, and thank you for sharing it, is I've literally got a card, and I think it's in the Animal Oracle deck, that says nothing is wasted. And we travel this journey thinking, oh, well, that came in, but it didn't stay. We've got this preoccupation with permanence, which makes me howl. And it didn't stay, and then I moved to this, and this is where society labels you a bit of a flake or a bit of a butterfly flitting from flower to flower. But to learn chemistry and to learn paint and to learn this, and there'll be other things that have just conjoined to become this symbiosis, this moving. I see that in my life. I just, right, so okay,
What you got?
I'll show you mine. If you pull or allow to spring out, whatever wants to spring out, I'm assuming you've got your Oracle deck with you. So what have you got? Let's see if we can create a conjoined field.
Okay, this is the card that has the last 2 days has been very powerful.
Yeah.
You mentioned, and I want to say this because you mentioned the ancestors. And 2 nights ago, not last night, but the night before. And so every night I engage in ceremony, which is a time of fellowship, of calling in the unseens. And I call in the different ones, the spirits, the cantumble, the universe, the sun, moon, the stars, planets, constellations. I call in all of these, and I always address my mom and dad. I mentioned to you before, I look on them as a portal to the ancestors and to the descendants. And at this time, when I'm engaged in this time, I don't see it as time,
No.
past, present, or future. It just is.
Yeah.
And as I was looking up and addressing my mom and dad the same direction I do every night, I have not seen an owl for, I don't know, last fall, months, maybe close to a year. And as I looked up, this owl, massive great horned owl, flew right over, barely skimmed the top of the house. And it was as I was addressing the ancestors and possible ascended masters amongst them, my ancestors, and that right there. Earlier in the day, dove had sat on a tree, my neighbor's tree, and looked at me and just did its beautiful plaintive cooing. Yeah. And I said, because dove can be, all these birds can be a number of things. Thank you, Ted Andrews. Yeah. But I said, I just sensed, you have a prophecy for me. What is it? And he just, dove reinforced that, she reinforced that. And then owl flies over, bird of prophecy is one of the energies associated with owl. That night, I had a dream. The next morning, or that night I had a dream, and the next morning I pulled this card, the mystical shaman.
Oh, no way.
Now, look closely at this card. Can you see it clearly?
Yes, I can. Oh,
the divine masculine. You see you see the masculine there.
Yes.
Okay. You see moon down there, but you see crow, one of my birds, one of my totem birds. The magic needed for everyday life. Most people don't realize the magic that is needed to live the life that we came here to live, to know, to explore, to discover. Crow is there over the sun, but there's a reflection up here through these feathers of the headdress. It's interesting that this I take as the moon being reflected on from the sun. Mm. And here's a projection. Look at this projection coming out. Did you ever notice this?
Yes.
It's a divine, to me, that's divine feminine.
Yeah.
And that's the energy by which I work primarily. Yeah. And that's what gets projected from me in that way. This was what I drew. And so that became very important because the dream that I had, and I'm not going to go through the dream, but in terms of establishing a field here, like you talked about, the dream that I had was rather bizarre, a little troubling. And it's one of the things that something associated with something you mentioned about what is going on in the collective and what people are seeing or not seeing. And in this dream, there was a crawl space underneath of a house, and there were all these spirits that were there. They were working. But what they showed me was that there are spirits that are yearning, that want there to be this shift in the collective, that are ready to help. They want to help humanity. And they showed the emptiness of it, that all this frenetic, silly, struggling and wars and political shit that's going on, that it's just that it showed. And in the dream, one of my spirits that I know took a chainsaw. There's this house that was above it that's this respectable, nice little, for us, that might be offensive to people in the UK, 4th of July type setting. It was a 4th of July house. Looked like this classic 2-story little, and there were it was draped with red, white, and blue and all this stuff. And she took it, and all of a sudden it was floating in an ocean, and she took a chainsaw and sawed it, just the front part of it in half, so it fell open. Mm-hmm. And inside it was empty and old, and nothing was there. It was dead and had been abandoned. And I was like, what is this? So I went back around to the front of this house where it had all started. And there was one person there. And this was an ascended master, who this is the 3rd time he has appeared to me very directly in a dream. And it was just he and I. There were all these people before everywhere. And then there were these fake snowball fights going on. I won't tell this stuff. But it was all very significant. It was artificial snow because it was the 4th of July. He walks across this wooden pavilion floor with me. And he said, you saw them down below, the spirits that were there. They have been waiting. And he gave me a name that is, it's okay. Yeah, I'm free to share this. He said, they've been waiting for you. They call you the soft light walker. Soft light. And it all came together. Owl, dove, and owl, and dream, ancestors. Soft light. The energy of the moon, the energy of the goddess. The divine feminine there doesn't mean soft in terms of wishy-washy, but soft in terms of the light. And that's, you mentioned yesterday, your spirit told you to blind them. It's like there needs always polarities and always balance. And that's it, soft light. Yeah. That's the card that really was powerful to me just in the last 2 days.
That card came out in one of my personal readings, and I did a piece of healing with it. The energy that came through literally came in behind me and was blowing life into me, projecting me forward, and the energy of it absolutely helped me to move into breakdown, breakthrough. It was so, and I just, because, you know, for anybody that doesn't know, you can buy any oracle deck and you can look at the picture, and that's very nice. You can read the words and you can get a cognitive understanding of what the card is trying to tell you. But for me, well, if you want to play like a child, it might be an idea to block the words. So if you hold a card up and say, I'm not going to show you this card just yet, but let's say the words are across the bottom, maybe you just block the words out. And then you move to staring, and you stare, and you disappear, and you move in, and you move in, until you feel the energy of it. And I did that with the Mystical Shaman card. And it was like a mini sweat lodge. It was such a powerful, cathartic healing. Yeah, really, really powerful. So we have the Mystical Shaman coming in, who is very, very welcome. I remember the first time I pulled this in a reading not too long ago, and it just reduced me to tears. Absolutely laid me to waste. And it was the cosmic mother and father energy coming in to hold the child, you know, and we're in this resurrection of the original child. So, yeah, we have cosmic heart. For me, is where we're all connected. It's that point of singularity where all difference disappears and the essence of being conjoins, rebonds. Beautiful, beautiful energy.
Taming the wind.
Taming the wind, and what a beautiful, beautiful image. These little flashes of blue for me are representing the throat chakra and this experimental phase that we're in the untaming of the shrew. And we're going to mess it up before we get it right and really find that strong, adult, loving, compassionate voice, because something needs to happen with all the squashed rage that's being held at the collective sacral level, the place of joy and passion and sexual expression, our sexuality. This is Kundalini. It's nothing to do with sex. It's Kundalini energy.
Yes.
And the taming of the wind is really learning how to harness your blue feathers. You know, the blue of the throat chakra, and learning how to be direct, I guess, to become poignant in your own life story.
Yes. And maybe it takes taming the wind to untame the shrew.
Talk into that.
Well, so this whole essence of taming, the immediate association I got with that when you pulled this out was taming, for instance, a wild horse. What you do is you ride with it. You get on it and you ride with it. And to me, if you're taming the wind, you're riding wild. And that's going to untame. That's going to untame the other things that you're talking about, the suppressed rage that is there. It's going to untame, it's going to release that when you're on this wild ride.
Love that. I just want to giggle my head off now. I really just, this there's that it's like a leaping energy in me that wants to skip and dance.
I would hope so if you're riding the wind. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow.
You know, you said something, Chrissy, and I would like to just mention it before you do your next card, about covering and feeling into it. The last video I made, I talked about, I showed a number, I started out showing my journal and the book and the cards and a few things. And like, these are tools.
Yeah.
And you can, and you said about looking into it, and you can cognitively read the words and understand what's there from the manual, and from you, and like you can read about a lot of things from Ted Andrews' book. But they become tools when you allow the spirits, the energies of the universe to speak to you through them. When that's what you desire, when that's why you're there, you're not there to learn something to be able to sell a service or something. You're there because it speaks to your soul, because it helps you to know yourself, to know you're beloved, and to see and recognize that beloved in others. So but right after that video, I thought, oh my gosh, did I sell short some beautiful things? And I mean, no sooner than it was like the next day when I did that 4-card, when I did the 4-card reading with a foundation card. And when I pulled the mystical shaman and a few others, that it was like, no, you didn't sell us short. You didn't sell, because it's not the physical 3D cards themselves. It's the energy that we summon and that comes to us. That's what's crucial, and that's where so really important. I'm glad you I'm so glad you mentioned that. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that analogy of riding the wild horse. I love that. Yeah, I love that. I have a profound connection with horses. Horses speak to me, and they are such powerful healers. They feel ancestral to me, part of my ancestry, and they are so humble and powerful. And that is such a beautiful relationship, humility and power. Horse has the power to really seriously injure and kill. And even when you piss a horse off, you've really got to piss a horse off for it to bolt, for it to kick. But it lets you jump on. And I watch people riding horses, and it's like they jump on and they jump off, and there's no connection. There's no, what's that word in Avatar? Halo. Halo. When they connect their hair, which is DNA, with the tail of the beast, it's like making that sacred connection. And as soon as you touch anything, you affect its energy. This is physics. This is metaphysics, and it is scientifically proven that a subatomic particle that is observed behaves differently to a subatomic particle that is not observed.
Yes.
Ergo, I make the world moment by moment. I am building it and constructing it. That is the power of divinity in the chariot. That is the power.
Absolutely, it is. Now, I want to mention something very quickly. There was no way I could have known you were going to bring up or that the card that you drew would make me mention horses, and that you would talk into horses just now. Last night, or early this morning, I had a dream, and in my dream, I don't know, it was like with a child, and like I was a child. We were laying down, this friend and I, whoever it was, we were lying down in this room on the floor. Two horses were there. And these horses, and I was a little fearful of them because I'm like, we're laying down. They're really huge. They're standing there. And both of them took a turn of reaching down and nuzzling me with my hand kind of like over my head and nuzzling me until I would lifted my hand and I would stroke it. And they were just so content, and they kept doing it back and forth. I don't know why.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
I haven't analyzed that dream yet, and I always analyze my dreams. I didn't have an opportunity to do that yet today. But yes.
That is beautiful. Feel free to keep. I'm just going to keep. I've spread the whole deck out in front of me here.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just going to keep pulling cards.
You Dragonfly.
Do you know, this card is so personal to me. It's been coming out in the collective a lot recently, but it is so personal to me. It has helped me rebuild my life since leaving the corporate world. And it's helped me to temper lack. It's helped me to temper expectation, fear. And, it's a big thing when you leave the corporate world and you live the big fat salary and the company car and the benefits and all of that, which defined me and burnt me out. I left burnt out. And it wasn't until a few weeks after I left that I realized I'm burnt out, and I never saw it. And this message has been coming to me for years, to how can I weave beauty into what feels ugly. And it's beautiful because it really takes off more blinkers and allows me to see beauty. I remember once I went to, you know of Jonathan Horwitz, And I went to do my, I can't remember what the course was called. It was my shamanics course anyway, a shamanic course, down in Kew Gardens in England. And that's such a fantastic story. Anyway, we had just done a big piece of work, a really beautiful guided meditation to the underworld. And some of us had shared stories, and we broke for a cup of tea, and I went into the kitchen. I was making a cup of tea, and one of the women in the group came up to me and started talking. We were talking. And it is a gift of mine, and it has been a gift since I was a little girl, and this comes in to remind me. I see beauty in everything. I've done it since I was a little tiny one, and that doesn't always get met in the world, and so be it. And she said suddenly she changed from weird nattering to bang, she came straight into my energy field with, "Oh my God, you're one of those, aren't you?" And I said, "Probably." And she said, "You're somebody who could pick up a turd and see the beauty in it." And I said, "Yeah, don't you?" And she said, "Why can't you just call a turd a turd?" I said, "Because it feeds the soil and the next generation of species to come, you know?" And afterwards, when we reconvened in the circle, I didn't know this, but Jonathan came in and he was talking into how we judge one another. And he was talking into perceptions, and perceptions are reality. And he was directly challenging this woman. I could have run up and kissed him because I didn't even know he was there, but he'd heard the whole conversation. And so, yeah, being reminded, and it's coming in on the energy of 4, which is foundational. It's building it within the container of the physical. So yeah, I do see beauty in absolutely everything, in every shade of ugly. Even when I'm triggered, it might take me a few days, but I can pull out the beauty in it. I have an amazing story to tell, actually, because Jonathan's come in, and I was connecting with Jonathan the other day. He won't know it because I was doing it via one of his videos. And I went into Vision Quest, just watching one of Jonathan Horwitz, everybody. Horowitz. Yeah, he's just such a beautiful shaman. He's a Vietnam vet turned shaman, and gosh, such a beautiful man. Taught me a lot. And the rest, look at my energy. Oh, look at my energy. The wrestle it took my best friend, one of my best friends, to get me to go to that shamanic retreat was laughable. Email number 1, "Oh, Chrissy, I've just booked to go to this retreat down in Kew. Do you want to come with me?" "Nah, not my thing." Okay, and we moved on. A couple of weeks later, "Chrissy, I've just checked the website. It's 3 spaces left. Do you want to come with me?" "I can see how you're going to really love that. It's really so patronizing. It's really going to fit well with you and everything you're bringing to the world. Vomit, vomit, and vomit. I'm not interested." Third email comes in a couple of weeks later. "Chrissy." "Chrissy, there's 1 space left. I sense it's for you. Come with me. We'll do this gently. We can share a room. We can get a bottle of bubbly in the room. We can do it gently." OFFS. Yes. So I booked in and I got the last place. And even now, look at the nervousness that's coming up in me and the fear, Mike, from that point, as soon as I booked, and I think the course was a week later, the fear in me made me sick, just started breaking me down, really started breaking me down. And then the next day, after she'd conned me into booking this blooming thing, she said, "Oh, by the way, you have to make a rattle." I went, "Wait, what?"
Is this your rattle story? Yes.
This is my rattle story.
Good. I want to
make a rattle. I said, "How the hell am I going to make a rattle?" You'll figure it out. Doing. You cow. I love you. So, right. So I got to make a rattle. So I closed my eyes and I went in and I saw it. I saw it just like that. And so Spirit came in and said, it will start with papier-mâché. Okay, so I'll need a balloon. You'll need a balloon. You'll need a stand and all the fixings. Hold it up. Da da da. Need some glue. Time. Da da da. Everything came in to make the carcass. Great. So then I went into the garden, and this was in the days where I had big land to play with, and the peas were just drying out. So I used to grow all my veg, and we got some green beans, and I'd left the peas in the pod to dry out, ready for next season. So I collected dried peas, and I had these tiny, teeny little brass bells. So I gathered those together because they would be the sound that I wanted to hear. Then my dad came, God bless him. He said, brought you something. Okay. My dad is just eccentric and weird. I told you, he hasn't gone. He's transitioned, but he's still very much here. And I looked in this bag. He brought me a bag of offcuts of leather, coloured leather. I went, you freak. Let me tell you this story. So he said, right, that's just what you need. That's just what I need. Then I walked out. This all happened in like 3 days. Then I walked out into the garden, and just by the back door, there's a verge planted up. And I looked down. I'm like, what the heck is that? And I bent down and I picked up a pecked clean bird's skull.
Ugh.
I have never even seen a bird's skeleton, much less one in pristine condition, stripped clean, and it's about that big. I'm like, you send me a bird's head, this is for my little tears started to come. Gathered up this bird's head, took it in, that was going to somehow be included. Go back a week, and I'd been up to, there's a place up in Derbyshire called the Derwent Dam. It's a series of 3 dams, basically flooded villages, but we call them dams. And I'd been up there collecting driftwood for no good reason. And I got this piece of driftwood, which is a stick with like a thumb notch on it. Right, so this is the story of nothing is wasted. Nothing is wasted. So I got all of this stuff and I set to, and the papier-mâché had already been mounted around the balloon that was drying. I think that was on layer like number 5, good strong layers. And then every step of the way, things just kept coming to me. This bracelet came to me in like my Native American colors, and it had a little dream catcher on it. I'm like, what on earth is this? Wait now.
I think we're going to get to see the rattle or the bracelet.
And so.
Excellent. Oh, and there's the bird. Oh my gosh. Oh, the driftwood, the bracelet. What are the stones in the bracelet?
These are, I think they are, I don't think they are, as I might imagine, carnelian. Well, they might be carnelian.
Yes, I can see that here.
And I don't know what that is. That looks man-made, feels man-made, but it might be carnelian.
Wow. And there's the strips that your father gave you.
And these are to represent the DNA, the double helix.
Yay.
And yeah, these are the, I made these from some leather I already had. And so I take this to the shamanic thingy and I sit down and we're all gathered around. We did the we did the course in a Montessori school. And if you're not familiar, Montessori is schools that are born for art. They are born to harness the wild child. And the energy,
Montessori, yes.
can you imagine the energy? It was, every wall was spattered with art. It was just everywhere. The energy was so beautiful. And so we gathered around the edge of the room, and Jonathan said, just to kind of build the circle before we begin work. This was Friday, close of play. I think we all got there about 6 o'clock Friday evening. He said, I'm just going to rattle you in. So I'm going to move around the circle. I'm going to rattle you in. And as soon as he said the words rattle you in, I fell apart like deep heaving sobs, snot and tears all over. I went into embryo position. I didn't want him anywhere near me. That part of me was so wounded, just broken. And he came and he really, so he'd kind of been, you know, really rattling around people's heads. And he came to me, so gentle, just so gentle. And I just let it wail. I was wailing. And then an amazing thing happened. And I did this about 10 years ago. I think I did this course about 10 years ago, and I've only ever shared this story with one person. So we're invited to do sacred ceremony, which is called Spirit Boat. Spirit Boat is where all the participants sit on the floor in the shape of the hull of a boat. And we ride the boat into the underworld, because we're going to do a retrieval for one of the participants, who's I think was lying in the middle. And Jonathan came up to me and he said, Chrissy, I want you at the front of the boat. No. Yeah, I want you at the front of the boat. Oh, crap. And wow. I still don't have the words to truly describe how phenomenal, and I mean the word phenomenal in its truest sense, a phenomenon of shifting metaphysical energy. We went under the water. I felt it. I had one hand on a whale all the way down. I shook this rattle so hard at the head of this boat that, so this is the good eye socket. I pushed in the eye socket because I'm left-handed, and my thumb went right into the skull and pushed in the eye socket, but it guided my thumb. And that is the story of my...
The last one registered, the last one thinking that this was going to be something for you, and you ended up at the head of, and I've read of the ceremony, the boat ceremony. So powerful. So you end up there. That is incredible. That is beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you. Do you think a part of me knew when I was rejecting the invitations?
I think my opinion is that the spirits who knew you knew what you needed, and they were not going to let you. I think ego would say, I can't allow this. It's not safe for me. Yeah. And I think your spirits knew what you needed, and they used your friend. They used the accumulation, the aggregation of all the materials for the rattle, and they used Jonathan in that time. And just, it's to make the dynamics of it, to me, are the way. And in fact, it was something that I didn't know what we'd talk about today necessarily, but the dynamics are the way that I experience things that in a way affirms to me. Not that I need total affirmation, but it's a way that, like, I don't know, maybe it's better to say it's part of the fellowship and the communion with all of this, with the unity, with the spirits, saying we work all things together and we enjoy together. And even though ego, because we have to have ego as a human being, because that's just part of we needed it. It was necessary for being human. It can interfere when it's not in its right spot. And so I think they knew that for you. And that's with me, the dove, the owl, the dream, the mystical shaman card, channeling. One of the things I wrote in my journal, I can't show you that because nobody can read. I can hardly read my own writing most of the time. But my spirits told me, channel. I wrote the word channel now. And I just started, and so it all together. And that's what I see, that the same that dynamics working, bringing it all together.
Yeah.
And that's available to everybody. That's not, you don't have to take a shamanic course, which is great. You don't have to have a deck of oracle cards, but once you know this, who you are, and that we are part of, and that we are spirit incarnate. And you talked about creation, our ability to create. We understand that we awaken to those things. Then we say there is a whole world waiting here, and all of it starts working together to bring up to create things like this. Yes,
Completely. Yeah, completely. It's divine synchronicity. And when we get out of our own way, stuff will literally be plopped into our laps. I mean, and since that, in the last 10 years, have I ever seen another bird skull? No, ever. Never, ever, ever. So
it's beautiful.
thank you. I
The
absolutely,
story is beautiful, and it's a story of healing, and it's wonderful.
yeah.
I mean, truly wonderful.
Yeah,
Yes.
full of wonder.
Yes.
Absolutely. It was full of magic, full of wonder. And I
Thank you
learned,
for sharing it.
oh, thank you for holding space for that. That was, yeah, so nothing is wasted. We can do 7 of the most random jobs in the first half of our life. And it's all for a reason. And now it's like, this card's been sitting there and I didn't quite know where it was going to come in, but I get it now. Thank you. This card actually came out in somebody's reading today, and this is how we harvest the abundance. Is perspective is perception is reality. So there's 7 jobs, yada yada, didn't really lead anything to anything, but there'll have been aspects of those jobs that have come to you that have formed. Yeah, absolutely. That have formed a little dream catcher.
Yes.
And they've woven themselves into this beautiful web of opportunity. And when we don't question and move with the flow in childlike wonder and get the ego out of the way, then we reap rewards. That's when the bounty comes in. This is the gatherer energy. And great trust is needed to conceive of the idea and then let it go. Literally showing me a dandelion clock. Yes. It's like almost pick a dandelion clock, focus your intention into every seed, blow it away and let it go, and don't think about it again. Magic is returning.
It is magic
It's magic.
to see the things that you've spoken of. Beauty in a turd.
I tell you what, I have to laugh because I'm literally reading a book about poo.
That's great. That's great. Uh, I still remember from Jurassic Park the one scene where they're going through dino poo
Yeah.
to see to learn about it. But yeah, the beauty in a turd are, as I've so often experienced, the universe in my backyard. It makes it so that I have to guard against, quite honestly, about not wanting to do anything else or go anywhere else, because I see it all right here.
Yes.
There's so much, but every time I go somewhere else or do something else, I see it there too.
Yes.
And it's beautiful, yes. But you're right. The experience is what we have gathering, gathering, gathering.
Yeah.
And faith, trust, to just say, I receive it. And
Mm.
I don't know what it's going to form. I don't know what it's going to do, but I receive it. And I know it's going to do something wonderful. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's trust. Yes.
Yeah. Trust, a great deal of trust. Um,
Jonathan, Jonathan Horowitz, um, definitely understood the energy and the power of your your practice, of your life, of who you are. Because one of the first times that we emailed back and forth, and we haven't done it a lot, but one of the few times he said, and I said, I know about you because I saw your name mentioned through Chrissy Sawyer in one of our posts. This was several years ago, and he said, "Oh, is she your mentor? Because that would be a wonderful thing." I said, "No, not really." I said, informal, yes, because I learned from her every time there's an interaction, even when I see her post or her videos. Well, there weren't even videos at that time. You weren't doing those, but I said, yeah, informally, yes. But so that's his
wow.
opinion of you. Yes.
How beautiful. Love
Yeah.
that man. Love that man.
He has an amazing spirit, and I can't imagine what it would be like to visit him in Norway and to be there and to take a course there. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, wouldn't it? Yeah, wouldn't it? Okay. I've just pulled another card. Actually, do you want to pull a mirror card for? I'm not showing you what it is. I'll show you mine when
I
you
won't,
do yours.
maybe I shouldn't show you what mine is because,
Oh, check him out.
well, because one of the things I was going to tell you, I mean, yes, sometimes I shuffle and the cards leap, and it's the energies that are there. And other times it seems like nothing's happening, and then a card like this one will poke, and it won't. It every I keep and it pokes, and this was the one that poked me.
Love it. Huh. Power in the dark. Oof.
And look what it is, so jealously guarding, fearlessly guarding the moon, not allowing anything to uh, interfere with that energy, the public opinion, the paradigms of others. That is jealously and fearlessly and ferociously guarded. The jaguar has no natural predator, and uh, so there's no fear in living its energy and its power. And that is one of my very special spirits. I mean, it's one that came to me in one of the frightening, terrifying ways, was this jaguar, this black jaguar with the green eyes, guarding, and the energy is always associated with her has been moon, soft light walker. This is the card that just while we've been on here, that was poking me.
Wow.
So a reinforcement, a of much that we've spoken of not allow that what we receive, we don't allow the collective or anyone else to shape. We ferociously guard that which we are here, the beloved.
It's amazing.
So show me your card.
It's amazing.
Oh, I did that a couple of weeks ago. Yes.
It's just, wow. This is just screaming to me. What if there were no predators? What would you now no longer have to self-sacrifice in order to become? Stop giving away your dreams to others as you let them, as it's something about insurgents, to accept the insurgence of another's energy. Oh my word.
Just
It's like sacrifice pleasing, just sacrifice pleasing.
that is that, and that was the energy that I got when I had that card, drew that card. It was, yes, sacrifice, pleasing others, sacrifice, all of those things that ego would use to hold us back, to rightfully and helpfully try to protect us, but that doesn't allow us to live why we came to live, to be who we are.
That, I mean, that just the energy of that card has kind of been downgraded, demoted, that kind of power, that kind of you off my planet now. That is just the firmest boundary, that jaguar spirit guarding the femininity is that is power beyond reason, beyond reason. That is just inherent power. Wow, you know, yes, ting, I'll ting to that. Wow.
Sorry about that.
No, don't worry. It's a well-positioned ting. Gosh, I once did a mirror meditation, and oh, it was 100 years ago when I was learning about mirror work and really kind of looking into the eyes of my own soul. And you know, after I tell this tale, if anybody's moved to do mirror work, you need to be coming from a beautiful space before you do it, because perception is reality. And if you're projecting an unmet need, then you might see something you don't want to see. Or you might see something you absolutely need to see. So yeah, come from a place of strength. And I was kind of bold and daring when I stared into the mirror. A little part of me was like, don't quite know what's going to come through here, a little bit scared, I'm not going to lie, and I just gazed and just kind of allow the eyes to go really soft until you start to, in fact, it's almost as if you're staring into a fixed image. It's as you stare and the eyes become soft, you then start to permeate yourself. You permeate yourself through the image. And I've been talking a lot recently. Well, I've been talking a lot to friends about it, but I've mentioned it once or twice in videos that about shape-shifting. And that was the first time I ever saw myself shape-shift, because as I became very soft and open and receptive, loud and clear, this wolf came through my face and projected forwards. And my eyes turned into big wolf eyes, and it was a silver and black wolf, and it was a she alpha. Very, very powerful and very beautiful, very beautiful. It was a complete mirror of my own soul. But what happened after that, and just it broke me down, being able to see that kind of reflection of myself broke me down, allowed lots of process and healing, masses of journaling and imagery to come through. And then what came through was another timeline that brought another timeline in of, and it was one of my Native American lifetimes, and that came into my present. And showed me how I met this wolf. And I was studying. I was a Native American woman, and I was studying. And there was a hall full of doors, lots of opportunity. And I came out of my classroom. And I know the classroom in a corridor doesn't really fit with our imagined version of Native America, but that's what I was shown. Studying. So I was in a phase of learning, I think is what they were trying to tell me. I came out of my classroom, and to the left of me was a wolf just sitting in the corridor. And I crouched down to it and looked in its eyes, and I said, do you want to run? And we ran straight through the corridor, through the wall, like the wall disappeared as we approached it. And we ran into the forest, like proper fast, out of breath, panting, running. Wolf keeping up with she, and she keeping up with Wolf. And it was just, and I can still hear all the cracking twigs under our bare feet. And we ran until we arrived just completely out of breath, and just sat and got closer, and we stared at each other and got closer and closer and went third eye to third eye. And then followed the series of dreams, of adventures that we've had together. And it wasn't until many years later that I was shown her death. Wow, that's the first time I've said that. That is the first time I've said that without falling apart. 4 years to process the grief of this wolf's death, because she wasn't my pet, she was my friend. And it's all gone. That's amazing. And yeah, it showed me that. I'm not going to talk that in, but that was her transition, and that was my very painful loss. And her name is Storm. And for years after that, not so much now, because she's fully integrated. This is the process of self-actualization, integration of self. And sometimes when I would meditate, we're probably going back now, I think it started happening about 10 years ago. 10 years, 12, 13 years ago was a huge turning point in my life. 07, 08. And moving forwards to probably only 5 years ago, when I would go into a deep meditation, this thing happens to my left hand and it goes like that. And she's sitting there and she's nudging me like, I'm here. It's just, yeah, really such a beautiful, beautiful energy. But the palpable loss was really big in my life at that time. Yeah.
It's intriguing to me because I see, again, I learned just from you sharing these sorts of things. I didn't know there was a formal name for mirror work. It was the way I didn't know. I would have to pursue that now some. It's interesting the way different things come to us. I mean, dreams are very big with me, and I know the spirits are there. They always make themselves known who they are. Well, not names always, but they make themselves known, or animals. They're like, hey, this isn't unarmed. This isn't just like because you saw something in an advertisement or something. We're speaking to you. So, and I'm learning of myself. So yes, thank you for sharing that.
My pleasure. It's yeah, and I bet you and I and so many like us have journals and journals and journals filled with mystical adventures. I know I have, and they go back, yeah, like I say, 07, 08 was such a huge turning point in my life. And some of the journeys that I had and adventures I had when I was building my non-physical team, family, were profound. Even now, it's just blows me away. If I pick an old journal up and just
yes,
that with a book, yeah. It's like, oh crikey, it's like, what have I written here? I've written a guidebook. It's like I wrote a guidebook 10 years before I would need it, 100 years before I would need it, 1,000 years before several generations to come would need it. I don't know, but
and like, did I write that? How is this to me? Where did this energy come from? Yes, because I don't remember writing that, but it's obvious that I wrote that. Yes.
Yeah, completely. It's such a fascinating time. It's so how are you feeling about timing? We've done 1 hour and 20.
Yes, I always think I do think a little bit about those who may be dropping in and saying like, I want to get some, but So it's been a while. Of course, you can do like I do. Any of you that are listening, watching, you can go to your settings and go change it to 1.25, and it doesn't change voices too much, but it cuts 25% off of the viewing time. So if it's a really long thing, especially if it's something instructional or something I want to watch that is like not real, it's the sort of thing that isn't real deep to me, I do that quite often. Yes.
What does it do? Cut out all the dead space?
No, it just speeds it up.
Speeds it up. Wow.
Yeah, everything. So it would be like talking like this instead of talking like this.
Oh.
Yeah. But it doesn't change you can go even faster, but at 1.25, it doesn't change the tonal quality of the voice or anything.
Play with that. I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, if you just click like a double click on the video, it does that. Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that what I sense is we just need to occasionally do these. And,
yeah, I agree. I'm going to pull one last card. What say you?
Yes. So
one last card each and see what happens. You've probably already got yours at the ready.
No, I do not. I do not. Let's just see.
I have a closing message for visitors. I'm going to cover the words up for this.
I can cover mine, but it won't make any difference. You will know whatever it is. The other one, yes, it will make a difference.
So what I'm seeing in these two cards is kind of Mike and I have been kind of looking inwards today to trigger off all of this release of messages and inspiration and hopefully some stories that might help you feel less alone in your weirdness and your eccentricity, and setting off these bursts of color that are just radiating out, and they will travel where they need to go now, and they will meet whoever needs to hear them. On the wings of this beautiful bird, and the rainbow talks about spiritual alignment, it talks about chakra alignment,
the energies of life.
The energies of life, and obviously it is the sun and the rainbow, I'll say now, but it's almost like, look, the messages have been generated in this really intimate chat, this lovely sharing of experiences, and now they're going to go out onto the world via this beautiful bird just casting its rainbow out.
The first time I ever pulled that, I took that almost as a phoenix.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Same for me. You know the deck, and quite often you just don't get one card.
Yes.
So here they are. Okay.
Yeah.
This card is looking at this, all of this again, the knowing, she's looking straight out, looking straight at us. And it's the elements of the sorts of things we've been speaking of. What is available to be found in all of this, the universe right here in nature around us that speaks to us. And we have shared, and you shared about, I mean, these elements up here almost remind me of your bringing your rattle story to me. And I see that. And to look on it all, to look directly on it all, and to take it in and say, yes, it's the witness. Okay. It's the witness of all that is. The witness, where do you see it? You've mentioned several times perception is truth. Where is the truth? It's there. It's the third eye. That it, interestingly, is off to the side.
Yeah.
Why is that? I'm not 100% sure. I don't know. But it's there to just take it in. But perhaps that taking it all in, this is truth. This is truth. And what my truth is to be, as Jaguar showed, jealously guarded, fearlessly guarded, ferociously guarded, but to witness what is through my own perception. Yes. And the other one, well, this one's not a mystery. This one is water. That's a big bubble.
Yeah.
It's one. But again, the flow, the regeneration, the purge. I don't know what anybody who stops in here will need or see, or what about what we've spoken of will resonate with them. But it's wonderful when it creates a flow, and that we can be joined together in that flow, that we can just do that. That we can flow. And the little tinges of things like the orange, which is that flow, the sacral chakra, to that where the flow is created, passionate creativity, and the synchronicities and resonance that comes when you're in flow. And so there's water. So
That card has been coming into people's readings, the water card.
yes, I mean, there's much more to it, obviously, but yeah.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Like, as always, a yes to the next playtime.
Yes.
It's been an absolute joy just to kind of speak through the magic and share each other's stories and learn from you and see so much more of you and really understand how deeply you're working with spirit at the moment, how far you've come. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for accepting. And I'm just, anybody who stops by, anybody who listens, it's just, it adds to the richness of all it is. Yes, we are here right now in this time, but the second that anybody clicks in and connects with this and flows with this, it's part, it increases the richness of all of this. Yeah. So thank you for sharing the time.
My pleasure. It's been lovely. It's been lovely. Until next time and more magic. Thank you all for being here. I hope this has been a decent cup of coffee for you. And we both look forward to seeing you again soon. Much love. Take care. Bye. I'm going to